This episode is presented by State Farm. Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like expecting the leadership of a team captain on the football field, but getting a sea captain. You wouldn't settle for just anything for your team. Shouldn't it be the same for your insurance? So don't settle for just any insurance when you can go with a leader. State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Mint is still $15 a month for premium wireless. And if you haven't made the switch yet, here are 15 reasons why you should. 1, it's $15 a month. 2, seriously, it's $15 a month. 3, no big contrast. 4, I use it. 5, my mom uses it. Are you playing me off? That's what's happening, right? Okay, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
I'm always looking for ways to show my cat how much I love her. And with Fancy Feast gems, I can pamper her whenever I want with a savory gravy on top of a gourmet mousse pâté. The pyramid shape makes serving simple, so all I have to do is peel and plate to make mealtime feel extra fancy. And with 2 entrees in every pack, it's easy to turn every day into the extraordinary. Fancy Feast gems.
The World Championships just keep on coming, and after a record number of medals at the Paris 2024 Olympics, British canoeists are hoping for more down under. I'm Michael.
And I'm John, and the Canoe Slalom World Championships are taking place in Sydney, and the recent World Cup form has been good for Great Britain.
I know that Paddle Australia put in a really good job on organising it. It is a tough event to organise, so yeah, I'm really looking forward to see what they've got.
I caught up with friend of the pod, Kimberley Woods, after her recent World Cup final wins.
And Michael's also been covering the World Athletics Championships for TalkSport in Tokyo. Not quite the championships we had hoped for British athletics. We'll look back and we'll look ahead as well.
This is Anything But Footy. Moving on to Milan, looking ahead to LA. Stay in touch with us all the time through our social media feeds. You can find us on all the major platforms. Plus, you can read all about us at our website, anythingbutfooty.com. Got a new blog that's going to be on there later on this week. More about that coming up shortly. Set to be held from September the 29th to my birthday, October the 4th, at the iconic Penrith Whitewater Stadium. It seems quite apt to us, a quarter of a century on from Sydney 2000. Australia is about to stage the biggest canoe slalom event down under since those Olympic Games. Paul Ratcliffe won silver for Great Britain in the men's K1 at Sydney 2000, starting a steady stream of medal success that continued, as we've already mentioned, last year in Paris. Double Olympic bronze medalist Kimberley Woods has continued her form into 2025, recently ending the World Cup series by winning the women's C1 canoe gold and overall title in Germany 24 hours after bagging the K1 kayak gold and title as well. Now, I spoke to her after that terrific performance before she jumped on the plane to Australia to prepare for the World Championships, and it was also a special day personally for her.
It's still a bit baffling as to what's actually happened, to be fair. Something I never really actually dreamed of because didn't really think it was possible. That Jessica Fox is up there. She's the GOAT of the sport. And yeah, I knew that it was going to be hard to beat her there. Unfortunately, she isn't racing and is recovering from a kidney surgery. So all thoughts are with her. But yeah, I feel pretty happy I went out there and raced the best I could, and it was the best out of everyone. And yeah, coming away with my first gold medal a couple of weeks ago was pretty overwhelming. It was something I'd never achieved before, and to then do it again the week later and then again in the canoe was, yeah, I'm very, very happy.
And it's your birthday today. I mean, have you ever had a birthday quite like this one?
Not quite. There was one birthday in Prague in 2019 maybe, where I won a silver medal in canoe and came pretty close in kayak. But yeah, I think bit of a wild one. One I'll remember for sure.
It's so important, I think, as well, because obviously you had the success last year in Paris at the Olympics, but it must be very difficult to then come back the year afterwards. And we do see a lot of athletes take that bit of time to come back into the sport, but to come back so well less than 12 months after the Olympic Games for you. Must be a huge thrill.
Yeah, I think we obviously had some competitions after the Olympics last year in September, and they didn't go quite as well in my kayak. I think I was a little bit surprised, but also kind of knew that it's never easy, the sport. I did pretty well in my canoe, winning 2 medals, having not trained it all year. So that was pretty good. But yeah, I was really good in my kayak. I really wanted to kind of almost prove a point, be like, this isn't a fluke. I wanted to kind of put my marker down again and just be like, no, like I definitely deserve these medals and probably prove it to myself a little bit. But then yeah, going into the start of the season again, it was still hard, and I think a lot of athletes found that it was a different format as well. There was no building through the competition. You had to perform on day one on run one to get into those finals. So it was kind of tricky to navigate that. But I came away with 3 out of the 4 finals at the start of the year. In my head, that was a rubbish start of the year because I didn't get any medals. But I was so focused on almost forcing myself to just enjoy it and be there. But I worked really hard over the summer and made sure I was putting myself in a position to go out there in this back end of the season and for the World Championships. You know, I'm going after that World Championship title. I've got to be good.
There was something you just said in that question that was a bit of a wow moment to me, and that was you used the word fluke. Do you really look back and think, oh, maybe, you know, in a candid moment, the Olympic medals were flukes?
I don't think so. I think for me, I'm such a high performer and I want to win all the time. I know I can't. But you see a lot of athletes like consistently medaling and stuff, and then the odd one getting the odd medal there. But I didn't want to be that person. I didn't want to just get one medal and that be it. I wanted to keep getting medals and keep proving that I am one of the best in the world. I wouldn't say it was a fluke. I mean, especially not now because I did work really, really hard for it and I could have won that race. So I think the fluke side is just a bit more to myself and kind of proving to myself I did belong there.
Because those of us that, you know, were around Paddle UK and covered those games, and you and I and my colleague John and you spoke so many times in the build up to those Olympics, the work that you guys do. And I remember speaking to Adam Burgess about breathing, about pumping in loud noise into the Lee Valley Centre to try and replicate the Olympics. I mean, it's bizarre then for me to hear you use the word fluke.
Well, it is funny because like we did put a lot of work into it, and it's like I got the reward that I deserved. I think it is just post that it's like I want to keep getting those podiums. So, but yeah, I did work hard, and again, like I worked hard over the summer, and I've got the reward for it. It really shows that the results do come if you do work hard for it.
Absolutely. And your results, as we said over the last week, have been phenomenal. But you do mention the World Championships. That is now sharply in your mind and sharply into focus.
I was over there over Christmas and New Year's for a couple of months just to get used to it and feel at home and be away from the cold for the winter training season. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting out there and just being immersed in the experience. And I know that Paddle Australia put in a really good job on organising it. It is a tough event to organise. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to see what they've got.
For people that don't know, tell us, where is it and what are you going to be competing in and how is it going to work?
Yeah, so the World Championships is going to be in Penrith, Australia, which is just an hour outside of Sydney. And it's the first time it's been there for a good amount of time. Last time I was there for a major competition was in 2014 for the under-23 World Championships. So going there now as a senior and as World Cup champion, and I'm sure my world ranking has increased too. My goal with this year was just to keep increasing that world ranking, and I think I've managed to creep into the top 5 now, which is the first time ever. I creeped into the top 10. Broke that top 10 this year. So, yeah, really looking forward to go out there for the World Championships. And it's going to be a long schedule, but it starts on the 29th of September and runs to, I think, the 4th of October.
And what are we going to see you competing in?
Yeah, so I'm going to be tripling up. I'm going to be doing kayak, canoe, and kayak cross. And it's just going to be so wild.
So a lot of racing for you to come when you get to Australia. What's the ambition? What's the target? I guess after what you've just achieved, you want to come back with some more medals for the collection.
Yeah, for sure. I think I'm going in as world champion from 2 years ago. With the Olympic year, there's no world championships, and I have a medal of each color from that championship. So I had 4 medals, which was pretty crazy. But yeah, I think I just want to go out there and be myself. I think that's something I've really channeled the last couple of weeks is it's just be me and just paddle free, finish as high as I can. Like try not to put those expectations on myself. I know that other people are putting them on me. But I'm not, I'm just blocking all of that out and just really wanted to be out there and enjoy it because I don't, you never know what might happen. And I think the moment I go in and want to win and feel like I need to win, that's when it starts to fall apart. So I'm just going to channel the confidence from the last 2 weeks into training and just go out there and see what happens. But of course, I do want to come back with some medals and would love to retain my title, but would also kind of just continue my form and hopefully bring back some medals.
Well, congratulations again for a terrific performance in that Canoe Slalom World Cup. We are super proud of you and good luck when you get to Australia for the World Championships. Thank you, Kimberley.
Thank you.
Michael and Kimberley Woods in good form ahead of the World Championships. I mean, as you said, friend of the pod. She was impressive in Paris with that double bronze, but also the fact that she won her first K1 title this time in the World Cup Series, and then to win it overall and win the overall C1 as well. I mean, she's just on fire.
Yeah, and it was interesting. We spoke a lot there. She used the word fluke, and I picked her up on the word fluke, and she kind of clarified what she meant. And she was talking about what she'd done at the Olympics, where she'd won 2 bronze medals, and she described it, as a fluke. And I was like, that seems like a bizarre thing to say, bearing in mind that we know how much hard work and detailed build up Paddle UK and the paddlers put into Paris. But she clarified it, and I think when you listen to that interview, if you've listened to it now in full and carefully, you'll know what she meant. What she didn't want was to be a 2-time Olympic bronze medalist and then never be there on the world stage again. And what she's done at that World Cup final is backed it up with terrific performances. And she wants to keep winning medals. But I think the bigger, broader point for me, and you and I have known Kimberley a little while now, and we've had many and various interviews and chats with her over the years, is what she was saying there at the end, that she just wanted to just be herself, enjoy it, have no expectations, but still want to perform at her best. And that puts her mentally in a very different place to where she was perhaps a few years ago. And I think that for me is the biggest sort of take home from that. We've talked a little bit in recent weeks, haven't we, about, how some of the athletes we've been speaking to seem to be in a good, happier place than they have been in the past. And Kimberley, I think, definitely is in that situation now.
Yeah, and the World Championships, obviously another step up, even from the World Cup. So we'll see how she gets on there, and hope, as you say, that she enjoys it and goes and delivers what she wants to deliver. But as we've seen with the World Athletics Championships, which we'll talk about in a moment, it is a different level, and that the championships bring the added pressure. Well, talking of who else will be there at these World Championships in Sydney, Paris 2024 C1 silver medalist Adam Burgess, also preparing to go one better at the World Championships. He said on Insta this week that the last World Championships were at home. This is about the next closest thing, as he's been practicing in Australia. So he's obviously in a good place as well. It's also been a really good World Cup year for Paddle UK, the new name for British canoeing. Sam Lever led a British 1-2 at the Canoe Slalom World Cup final in Germany in the kayak cross. He won gold. Johnny Dixon was also on the podium with silver. And sister Lois Lever was also third overall in the K1 as well. So looking strong for Paddle UK. We will keep an eye on the World Championships for you. Interestingly, Australia's three-time Olympic champion Jess Fox will be missing the home championships. She's had surgery to remove a tumour from her kidney. Now, we are told that recovery is going well, but she needs more time. We wish her, of course, all the best, being a three-time Olympic champion. Her sister and fellow Olympic gold medalist Naomi Fox will be lining up for the home team, though, as well. So, look, the action starts in Sydney Monday, September 29th, 3:20 in the morning. UK time. It's going to be another week of waking up at breakfast and finding out what's been going on. So we've got the kayak cross time trial on the first day. Tuesday, the canoe slalom heats and the team finals. Wednesday, October 1st for the kayak heats and the team finals. And then the C1 individual finals on Thursday, the kayak K1 on Friday. And the final day, Michael's birthday, Saturday, 4th of October, the kayak cross. And good luck to all of the British team who will be in action. Keep following Anything But Footy for all the socials, and we will give you a breakfast roundup every morning.
This is Anything But Footy, the Olympic and Paralympic podcast. The World Championship specials continue, and we will look back at Tokyo 2025 next.
The Hilton sale is on. For 10 days only, you can save up to 20% on stays this fall and beyond. Don't wait. The sale ends September 29th. Book your stay and save at Hilton.com. Terms apply. Hilton, for the stay.
So, record-breaking World Athletics Championships in Tokyo. 53 nations won medals, one world record. We all know who it was, Mr. Duplantis. 9 championship records, including the fastest or second fastest ever time in the women's 400 metres. Nearly 600,000 spectators watched the championship in the stadium in Tokyo. Noah Lyles won 3 medals in total, defending his 200-metre title for a 4th time. Melissa Jefferson-Wooden completed the sprint treble for America as well, and the USA topped the medal table ahead of the 192 other countries. So looking incredibly strong for LA 2028. But it wasn't record-breaking for Great Britain. Or rather it was, but not in a good way. For the first time in nearly a quarter of a century, British athletics didn't win a gold medal at a World Championships. 5 medals, the total, was the fewest number of medals since 2019. Half the number we won at the Olympics last year, while the relays, where we won 5 medals out of 5 in Paris last summer, came home without a medal for the first time since Paris 2003 championships. I can't even remember those. It was that far back. Literally, as we've been talking with the canoe slalom, literally a couple of years after Sydney Olympics. So, Michael, you covered the World Athletics Championships for Talk Sport. It really wasn't what British athletics needed or expected, was it? Were you surprised?
I was. Paula Dunn, the sort of head coach, if you like, performance director, British Athletics, said that they had a medal range of 5 to 8. So on that metric, they've got what they went for, which is the lower end of their medal range. Disappointing not to win a gold. A lot of people, not me, were hanging that gold medal around the neck of Keely Hodgkinson. I just felt that Keely had missed so much of the season that although she'd come back and run brilliantly in the Diamond League events, I think often, and you don't just see it in athletics, you see it in all sports, you do, when you immediately come back from injury, have that extra bit of adrenaline, and that does give you a little bit extra. But
and they're one-off races.
And they're one-off races.
You're not doing heats and semis.
Yeah, and I just thought that when it came to coming through the rounds, the semi-finals against the very best in the world in a championship racing setup, that was asking a massive amount of Keely Hodgkinson. And I think that bronze medal she won was a terrific performance when you consider that she won the gold in Paris, didn't then race for over a year, 360, 70 days before her next race. She wasn't, as she said, even wearing spikes in June. So I thought it was really, really tough to expect Keely Hodgkinson to go out there and win the gold. And I had been saying that I thought Georgia Hunter-Bell would beat her. in that final. And that's not me just with the benefit of hindsight. I'd been saying that to you quite a lot. And the reason is that Georgia had her illness over Christmas, New Year, which affected her indoor season, where she didn't win a medal at the Europeans, then did at the Worlds. But she'd had a perfect outdoor season. And I just felt that Georgia Hunter-Bell was building up to it. So silver for Georgia, bronze for Keeley, a bronze for KJT, Katarina Johnson-Thompson. So I think, again, she's a two-time world champion, Olympic silver medalist. For her to come back and still have the appetite to do that, a joint bronze, was fantastic. I'm sure she'll treasure that medal. Great silver for Amy Hunt. And you said something to me in the week, and you said, we haven't had someone come through yet. You want someone to kind of burst onto the scene, like Phoebe Gill burst onto the scene in 2024. I feel for a lot of the casual viewers, Amy Hunt is the one that's burst onto the scene, winning an individual 200. That's the positives.
And Jake Whiteman.
And Jake Whiteman, who I spoke to, and again, come back. Sorry, I should have mentioned Jake, coming back from 3 years of wretched injury. Again, brilliant silver. That's the positives. The unluckies, Molly Cordery injuring herself in the warm-up, Josh Kerr injuring himself in the final. Those are places where you might have looked for other medals. The disappointment from me, aside from the relays, which are so well resourced, so well funded, and have to go to the World Relay Championships and qualify as well. So it's a really established program. So the fact they didn't win any medals and didn't get a baton round in the men's 4x1, hugely disappointing. But the bigger disappointment, I think, for me, is the fact that some of those names that we saw in Paris didn't step up to the next level. And I'm not being overly critical here, but Amber Anning, another final of the 400 meters. It's brilliant to get to a world championship final, but
yeah, look, I'm going to defend Amber Anning here because she has been in the race where McLaughlin Levrone has run the fastest ever time. Forget the world record in the 1980s. We all know the East Germans, whatever they were doing. She has just blown the opposition away in that event. And Amber Anning, look, she was the world indoor champion. Yes, she's got to another final. And yes, she's finished fifth, which is where she finished in the Olympic final. But I don't think she could have done any more in that race.
But this is her first season as a full-time professional athlete. She finishes fifth at the Olympics in the final when she's juggling that with studying. I would have expected her to push on this year. And likewise, Max Bergin in the 800 meters. I would have expected him. He was an Olympic finalist, just to have pushed on. Those were the ones that
he got a personal best, Michael. You can't do any more than run a personal best in an 800 meter final. That's what I think. I think there are other people that you can sit there and go, well, this isn't good enough, and haven't kicked on. And you can ask, why is that? I would look at Matthew Hudson-Smith, for example, who again with Budapest won a silver there in the last World Championships, then won the silver in Paris. Should have won the gold really in Paris, didn't. He obviously hasn't kicked on and has gone backwards, and we would have expected him to get a medal. The fact that we didn't even see him anywhere near the relays as well, I just think is a huge disappointment. But it's also the year after an Olympics, and we haven't actually had a year for a long time where the Olympics was 4 years away. And of course, after Paris finished, the next Olympics was 4 years. It hasn't happened like that previously because of COVID. So you can also understand why people like Matthew Hudson-Smith maybe went, well, actually, this year doesn't quite mean as much to me because of what I achieved last year.
Yeah, and I think there were other performances. I mean, we've been saying for a long time, is Morgan Lake ready to win a global medal? Didn't qualify for the final in Paris, got to the final, finished seventh, was in great form, having broken that British record, the 2 meter jump at the Diamond League in the build-up. I mentioned, obviously, in the unluckies, that Molly Cordery and Josh Kerr with their injuries. Jasmine Sawyers had a really bad injury, was on the comeback trail, didn't reach the final. I agree with you. I think Matt Hudson-Smith was the biggest disappointment of all. We would have thought that he would have been on the podium at these. But yeah, I just think if you were looking for where 10 medals were going to come from, you could add 5 in from the relays, and there you've got your 10. But I'm just building on that point that you raised. Who was going to come through and become the medalist this time? And that's where I bring up the names of Amber Anning and Max Bergin. I thought this could be the season. Max Bergin reached the Olympic final on not a fantastic season in terms of injuries and not racing a lot. And he's come into this one, and he spoke to us on this podcast before going, I've had the perfect season. And he's run a PB in the final, but what can we do to get him from 6th onto the podium? What can we do for Amber Anning to get from 5th onto the podium? Maybe quite simply, there's just 5 better athletes in the world right now, and that's it.
Yeah, and I went through some of the stats, how many countries won a medal, and that is the difficulty with athletics. It isn't like it was 40 years ago. It's a lot more open. There are more chances for people to win. I understand what you're saying about Berging and Anning. I think it's a stepping stone, and you think Bergin finished 4th or 5th, Anning 4th or 5th. That's going to inspire them. They'll want to push on even more now for the next Worlds, which is a couple of years away, back in Beijing in China, and then obviously the LA Olympics. And both of them, you would be now saying, right, these are Olympic medalists. They have, if we're going to build on what we did in Paris from a British athletics point of view at the next Olympics, your Annings and your Bergins are on that list. I'm not sure that Morgan Lake is going to be on that list in the nicest possible way. I agree.
Max and Amber told us that they both thought they were medal contenders, didn't they?
And I think they were. But there were 4 or 5 better people than them, and nobody knew what McLaughlin Levrone was going to do. And then the men's 800 meters, it's the same 3 medalists from Paris. I mean, we talk about some of our athletes not performing as they did in Paris a year ago. That wasn't the issue for some of these athletes. Duplantis got another world record. He's not sitting there going, well, it was the Olympics last year, I won't going to bother this year. And I'm not saying that's how some people are, but it feels like that can be a bit of an excuse. Well, you've got the 3 medalists, as I say, from the men's 800 meters, just going quicker and quicker from Paris to these World Championships. And Bergin was still amongst them, literally, until the last 10 meters on that. Look, I think there are some other names which you kind of go, well done to them. Could they come through? I thought Tyree Donovan looked pretty impressive in the 400 hurdles. 2 personal bests, one in the heats, one in the semi-finals. He's got a long way to go, but he's someone there. Elise Thorner got a PB as well earlier on in the week. So there are some new names coming through, but those events are still hard, and that's the thing, isn't it? They're really hard. They're really hard to win.
And those people, they're a long way from
being
winning global medals, aren't they? I mean,
yeah.
you talk about Scott Lincoln, who, has been to 2 Olympics, didn't get to the final at each Olympics, and he got to the final at these. And Scott's an athlete that hasn't received much in the way of funding. And, you talk about the funding situation as far as Great Britain and Northern Ireland, British athletics concerned, £20.45 million they get from the public purse, a slight drop to what they got in the build up to Paris, which was 22.7 million. Scott doesn't get much, if any of that, has gone to Australia, ripped up his plan and everything that he'd done in his whole life, and it's worked for him, and he's got to that World Championship final. Again, he's a little way off, I think, being a medalist, but he's one of the high points of the championships from a Great Britain and Northern Ireland point of view. And I don't just say that because I'm biased, because I once raced down the River Ouse in a dragon boat with him.
I thought one of the other standout moments was Jake Whiteman, because I think a lot of us thought he was a world champion in 2022. He's obviously, as you said, had so many injuries. To come back from that and really have won the race and just be pipped on the line. We saw a lot in Paris, and it happened again with Jake in the final of the men's 1500 meters. But I think it does show, like Molly Caudry, that as a world indoor champion, she struggled since 2023 when she did that. But it must show that it can be done. with Jake that if you're good enough, and he's obviously good enough, he's now a world champion and a world silver medalist. So it should inspire, I suppose, Molly Cordery that it will come right because you just keep on doing what you're doing.
And you would hope it inspires, and it maybe sounds like I'm having a bit of a pop at the likes of Max Bergen and Anne Browning, and I'm absolutely not, because fifth and sixth in the world is terrific results. But it maybe inspires them to look at the way that Jake Whiteman's career built through to becoming world champion, and they could follow similar paths. It may be that the World Championships in 2 years or the Olympic Games in 3 years may well be their time. And I spoke to Jake, and he was very honest. He basically said, look, if I'd come to these championships and struggled in the heats or the semi-finals, that was it. I was done. I knew. But what this has shown is that he can still compete amongst the very best in the world.
And Amy Hunt just came through. I mean, I remember you talking to her at the indoors. I think we've spoken to her so many times this season. You spoke to her at the indoors, the British Championships and the
Keighley Classic.
Keighley Classic. Well. Exactly right. And then we've seen her then at the British Championships at the Diamond League, and she's just got better and better through the season. And that's what I think is a great story from her point of view, and a personal best in the Diamond League, which she broke, and then of course to get it again in the final. I mean, it's just a brilliant story. But both Jake and Amy are only silver medalists, and I know that the headlines are no golds, but a gold medal at the World Championships is like an Olympic medal. Yeah. Unfortunately, a silver in the World Championships. Ask Ben Patterson, who won a bronze in Budapest. No one was really talking about him in the 800 meters. But unfortunately, a gold in the World Championships is the equivalent of any Olympic medal. Unfortunately, a silver is just not seen as big in the world today. Back in the day, when athletics was at its heyday, a silver medal was huge. You'd be up for Sports Personality of the Year, but it's probably not going to happen this year unless we'd got that gold medal, and we just didn't.
Yeah, what I would say about the two silvers, I think they're different in many ways. So for Jake, it's the comeback story, and the silver just showed that despite all the injuries, he's still one of the best and can push on, and he'll have a huge year next year with the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow and hopefully European Championships in Birmingham. And hopefully he'll be fit for both of those. For Amy, is the silver medal the launch pad medal for her?
That's what you hope.
That's what you hope. Someone that was a brilliant junior and has seemingly now transferred that form into senior, and also turned relay medals, which she's won. I mean, I've been reading some of the newspaper coverage this morning. It's like Britain's new sprint star, Amy Hunt. Where's she come from? Well, she was Olympic silver medalist a year ago. So she's not come from nowhere, has she? But she's done it individually now. And maybe that is the opportunity that can push her on. And she may well get to be like Dina Asher-Smith and become a world individual sprint champion, which Dina did back in 2019. Dina and Katarina's golds in 2019 masked what was a pretty poor performance in Doha in terms of the overall medal tally, and we were probably having this conversation back then as well if we went back through the archives.
Did we take too many athletes
probably
this time? Jack Buckner, when he first came into British athletics, tried to run it. We praised him for this, like he'd done with British swimming, where he took people who were going to get to finals. And I'm not sure we got to enough finals from a world athletics point of view. And on the relays, you mentioned them. You talked about the funding and that. And we know that British athletics has had a cut since Paris. So is that part of the reason why this has happened? But in the Times over the weekend, Matt Lawton said that for the British relay coach, Darren Campbell, questions need to be asked. And that's a pretty strong statement for someone who has delivered, but these championships hasn't delivered.
Yeah, well, I think you've got to ask questions. One, they're funded by the public, and I think you would ask questions whether they'd had a brilliant championships or not a brilliant championships. To be honest, I think you've got to take every championships and learn from it. Even at 10 medals in Budapest, 10 medals in Paris, there were still surely learning points and areas that could be improved on.
Do you think we're a bit complacent this time?
Well, that's the key word. And you used that to me in a WhatsApp message. Complacency. Has complacency crept in? Did they think, right, we won 5 relay medals in Paris, we will repeat that? I've heard lots and lots of different reasons about why and what happened. The issue about the warm-up track being 15 minutes on a bus away from the stadium has been quoted as one of the issues. The conditions in terms of hot and humid weather has been quoted. I heard someone say that, we've had 5 major global championships now in 5 successive seasons. That is an issue as well. But these are all knowns. These aren't unknowns. These are all things that people are being paid to work on and manage. Whether that is, your sports science team, your strength and conditioning team working on the heat and humidity. I mean, Georgia Hunter-Bell knew about that. That's why when we spoke to her on the podcast, she'd gone out there early, which is when she first arrived, as she famously said, she was sweating from every orifice. Now, she knew and she managed that situation. So if she knew, why didn't the others know? Or why are they now saying actually the hot and humid conditions were an issue? The warm-up track, it wasn't like that was just dropped on these people when they arrived. They will have known that when Tokyo was awarded these games. And we know that this was a 5th major championship in 5 successive years. What are the athletes in it for if they're not in it to run in major championships? That was the question I put to Amber Anning in the build-up. It was like, from the outside looking in, why do athletes not go to every championships? Why do some people say, actually, I'm going to miss the Europeans? Because they want to focus and run in the majors. Well, this is the major. And they're going to be another major next summer with the Ultimate Championships, if British athletes can get in it and qualify, along with the Europeans and the Commonwealth Games, which become majors because they're both in this country. So these are all things that I feel like are being offered up as excuses. But if we're to be brutally honest, they're not things that we shouldn't have been prepared for.
I think you're right. And you said about 2019 when Dina and KJT won the golds in Doha. And I said that was the last time we've won fewer than the medals that we have this time. So we won 5 medals in Tokyo. We won 5 medals in Doha. Apart from that, dating all the way back to Paris 2003, we've always won more than 5 medals. And I think if you are looking at it and knowing that you've had funding cuts since the Olympics, knowing that you want to be on an upward trajectory, and this is a step backward, that has to be a concern. And I think you have to look, as you say, at the processes and the plans and whether it was right to take such a big team for pretty much not much recognition, unfortunately, apart from the people that we've talked about. And we're not here to criticize individuals in, that's not what we do. We want to be better. And that's what you were saying about Bergin and Anning. I get it. You want them to be better. You thought they would be better than they ended up being.
They told me that they were there to contend for medals. They did contend for medals. They were 5th and 6th in the world. My final thought on it is, don't panic. We were here in 2019. That's not that long ago. We then obviously had the whole COVID situation. 2023, 2024, we were at 10 medals. Bearing in mind that was, if you take COVID out of the equation, that's a couple of years on, isn't it, from 2019? So this hasn't worked out, this championship. I don't think as we would have hoped. We would have liked a little bit more from a few people. And as I said, we've had those unlucky things. We've had some of the shambolic things over the relay, not getting the baton round, of course, which has been an issue historically, but not in recent history. So don't panic. I do think we can't say that we need to rip everything up at British Athletics, because for a long time we've said they've got the right people in the right positions and they're doing the right things. They haven't become bad overnight.
No, it's a slight setback. It's probably the first setback for Jack Buckner and his team since he came in.
Yeah.
But as you've said, Commonwealth Games at home next year, European Championships in Birmingham at home.
They'll top the medal table at the European Championships in Birmingham, and we'll all be saying that it's fantastic. We'll have Dina, Daryl and Amy all on podiums in the sprints. We'll have Keely and Georgia, possibly Georgia doubling up and being on 2 podiums. We'll be seeing a medal in the field for Morgan Lake at a European level, and we'll all be saying that all is right in the world. So, yeah, as I said, don't panic. The right people have been doing the right things for the last 4 or 5 years. Setback's a good word.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to say, on the big scheme of things, Noah Lyles is probably as good as he thinks he is. Yeah. Just from the performances that he put on. Obviously, he didn't win the men's 100 meters, and that was Oblique Seville with a brilliant run. But that 200 meters, and then obviously winning the relay as well, Noah Lyles is certainly up there from a world point of view that people want to get behind and support.
Yep, and Melissa Jefferson-Wooden as well. Obviously, you mentioned that in your intro. Three golds. Was a bronze in Paris, and she's pushed on this season. And we hope that some of our athletes that were bronze and silver this time maybe will be able to push on to picking up multiple golds. This is Anything But Footy, the Olympic and Paralympic podcast. Don't forget, check out our socials. We're going to be right across all the things that are happening. So we've got Road Cycling World Championships going on at the moment, with the Track Cycling World Championships to come. We've obviously got the Rowing World Championships as well. Look out for that every morning. That's taking place in Shanghai. And of course, we've talked about the Canoe Slalom World Championships. We will be right across that at the end of the month, early October too. Read all our latest blogs and all about us on the website, anythingbutfooty.com. Listen to some of our favourite Olympic songs on the Spotify Olympics music playlist. And stay with us. We're moving on to Milan and looking ahead to LA.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.